Okay guys, so in today's video, we're going to be looking at primarily range of tone, and it's just something which I want to talk about as, in my view, it's one of the most important things that I look to achieve, and I think it's often what I gauge my most successful drawings by. And that might sound like maybe an exaggeration or inaccurate, but it goes without saying that things like proportion and accuracy of your subject, framing, composition, those things are always going to be really important, and of course subject matter is crucial. But in terms of the way that I work and generally what I'm always searching for, it's always that it's the first thing that I look for, and to me it has one of the biggest impacts as to one of the most common things that beginners find when they're trying to sort of learn to draw. Of course, proportion is one of them that everyone speaks about, but I think range of tone is something which isn't brought up enough, and certainly when I was taught, it was something which was hammered into me. You need more tone, but it was something which I never really addressed until recently, or recognized until recently. So this first drawing here is a quick self-portrait I did recently, and yeah, it was fun. It's obviously quite loose in its approach. I didn't go into too much detail or anything like that, but what I wanted to do was just have a little play around with values and that sort of thing. And even in this study here, I think I'm actually quite pleased with this. It's really nice and loose. Proportions aren't perfect or anything, but there's a couple of things which stand out to me as things that I enjoy in this drawing. It's completely subjective. A lot of people might not like this drawing, but the reason why I like it is because I think it's got some nice varied mark making, and the range of tone is there. It might look like a fairly flat drawing in some ways, but I think it's quite compressed in terms of the values, but they're still there. So if I was doing a charcoal drawing, for example, where this is just graphite, my beard and any sources of hair, I have very dark hair, so those areas would be very close to black. Actually, there'll be some really, really dark values, but they are the darkest values in the drawing, and I have got these mid-tones, and I'd say the mid-tones, of course, most of this is actually mid-tone, so it's important when you're working on a more compressed scale of tone to be more considered about the slight variations in tone that you're using. So around here, obviously, this is going to be more of the mid area, whereas just up here is obviously darker, and the differences and variations around here are going to be obviously more subtle, and I think that's really important if you're using a medium which doesn't allow for such deep shadow. Then it's important to focus more on the breadth of your highlights and your mids. So you can see around like the nose and stuff, this sort of area, a lot of this is highlight, but I'm kind of drawing out these areas of tone with the highlights. The absence of marks is, there's a lot of empty space here, but it's specified and bound by these marks which define, because there is no mark making there, they are still defined highlights because the mids are specifying the form around them. And here we've got another study of Keanu Reeves. Reasons why this drawing is successful is for the similar reasons. This shadow area is linear, the mids are linear. There are places where there are highlights, but it makes sense. So to have these stark lines of shift in tone makes sense because it describes the kind of sharp turning of the skin around the nose, and so you have this flatter appearing plane, or closer to the fore where more light hits the bridge of the nose, and these small sections where it describes the form of the face and respectively where the light is hitting it. So today we're going to be having a go at doing a drawing of some bottles, and we're going to be looking at those same sort of principles. Although those were of course portraits, the point is still the same. So we're going to be looking at how the range of tone and mark making can describe the form of these bottles without having to go photo real and spending tens and tens of hours on it. So we're going to start out with just blocking in some general lines about what we can see here. So as you can see, I go straight in there with putting down as much tone as I can and just being as bold as possible with my mark making. I actually originally had a lot that I was speaking about over the course of drawing these bottles, but I decided to kind of keep it a bit more minimal, let it speak for itself, I suppose. But generally, I think the message here is not to be afraid to put down graphite, put down charcoal, and really let the material you're using speak and make adjustments according. But don't hesitate. Make sure you are putting down more tone, and you can remove it later on. But use the tone to establish a grounding for your subject and just have fun. But I definitely advise that staying loose and focusing on your tone will push your drawing so much further. I hope that there was some interesting stuff in there for you guys. Obviously, this is the sort of thing which you could spend much more time on, but I think just to give some fundamental ideas about the ways that I like to work, hope maybe some of those ideas were interesting to you. Maybe you heard some of them before, maybe you didn't hear some of them before. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching, and just let me know what you think. If you'd like to see more of these sorts of things, or if you'd like to hear some other kinds of videos from me, then it'd be really cool to hear what you think. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.